It's been a busy first of the year for Governor Snyder. Just this week, he signed at least 20 bills as he works his way through legislation that landed on his desk at the end of last year's session. Included in that pile is the road funding bill that goes before voters in May, seeking a 1-cent increase in the sales tax. The governor also appointed a new emergency manager for Detroit Public Schools. Darnell Early is Flint's current EM, and he will now lead the district. And the governor is busy preparing for his State of the State address next Tuesday. It's all a lot to take on, but the governor appears to be up to the task, even with the torn Achilles tendon. And I gotta say, guys, when you see the governor hobbling, he's usually a guy who moves very fast from one place to another. It's hasn't seemed to slow him down a little bit. You do feel bad for him.
Well, you don't want to take up jogging that late in life, I don't think. I'm not taking any of those kind of risks.
Middle-aged athleticism is always a bad idea.
Well, all right. Well, we wish him well and that he recovers quickly on that. But let's talk about all of the various things he has on his plate right now. What are we seeing in terms of what kind of campaign the administration is working on and getting that sales tax raise for the roads?
Well, that's, I think, what we're going to see Tuesday night, get our first hint, because they've got a big selling job. And if the governor thinks he can push this through simply by appealing to motorists that their roads are bad and it's costing them money to fix the cars, that didn't work last year. And when he tried to rally support and pressure on the legislature, it didn't work. He's going to have to come up with some answers to the questions the voters have. People want to know why their roads don't last as long as they think they should when they're fixed. They want to know what's happening to all of the money they already pay for roads. He's got to answer some concerns folks have about the way the money's being used, and well beyond, oh, the roads are bad for your cars. We know that, and it still hasn't moved people on this issue.
What do you think that should
I'm not sure I
include?
agree with that. It hasn't moved the legislature, which
responds to public pressure.
but which is horribly gerrymandered in a way that protects the extremism. All of the polls of people in Michigan show that they wanted a solution for this and that they were willing to pay for that solution in the form of either fees or taxes. I don't know that this is going to be that hard of a selling job. I think the questions you're asking, he should answer, and he probably will. And there are people who want those answers, and they deserve them. I mean, we really do need to figure out why it is we spend so much on roads as it is and don't get the results.
Steve,
but
I'm telling you, people do want a solution. But I don't see any evidence yet that they're willing to pay for a solution. The letters we receive, when I go out and speak, and I'll ask groups, how many of you think we need to do something about our roads? Every hand goes up. Yeah. When you say, how many would support a higher sales tax?
Yeah, no, I see some of that too.
Higher a sales tax is one of the hardest taxes to pass. Yeah. And we're not giving, last time we raised it was for Prop A. We gave people property tax relief in exchange for it. We're giving them nothing in exchange.
Well, and the other weirdness here that I think will be hard to sell is this idea of going to the voters for a penny on the sales tax, which is a complete waste of constitutional effort. I mean, we only get to revisit that question every couple of decades.
So you think that we should have taken a little loop?
It should have gone for two.
Well, you'd have never
and sent the other penny to education or higher ed or something else. That would have gotten another constituency behind this too.
All right, two other things I want to talk about real quick before we leave this subject, and I'm sure the governor's going to be talking a lot about education next Tuesday at the State of the State. Also, a new emergency manager for Detroit Public Schools. A lot of people were upset that another emergency manager has been appointed, and saying the fact that this kind of management system is not working for the district.
And I think the governor acknowledges that. I mean, when he came in to talk to us, he said this hasn't worked as well as it should have, as well as we thought it would, but at this point, they can't think of anything else to do. So they were on a time constraint. The worst thing that would have happened is that today, and today was a deadline, that the school board took back over. He's not going to let that happen. But he can't let this new emergency manager, can't let Darnell Early sit there for 18 months doing the same thing the previous three managers did. He's got to use this time he has to rather quickly come up with a long-term solution for the Detroit schools. And he says this community group, this 31-member committee, he's going to listen to their advice. But you can't keep them an emergency manager forever. You can't give them back to the school board. There's got to be another answer.
Well, and there's got to be money on the table. I mean, one of the things that the emergency manager law doesn't address is the revenue problem that the district continues to have as kids get siphoned off either into charter schools or as people leave the city and go to the suburbs. There is not enough money to operate that system as it's configured right now, and there's not an easy way to close more schools because of the geographic distribution of population loss. So you've got to talk about another way to fund a public school system that people can rely on in the city of Detroit, and the governor's not really leading on it.
No, and I don't think that's going to happen. But I think what you said was key in terms of as configured now. I think you're going to see a whole different configuration of that district. I'm not sure a system of schools in Detroit still is viable, still makes sense, given the finances and the number of kids you're talking about.
One thing we're also going to have to watch out of Lansing in the next couple of days is the House Fiscal Agency reporting that there's a $454 million shortfall for 2015, and that's going to be a big deal in terms of budgetary. So we're going to have to watch that. And be sure to tune in next Tuesday night for a special edition of MiWeek. We will be live with analysis and guest viewpoints on the governor's state of the state and President Obama's State of the Union address. It's all the same night. It starts at 7 p.m. on January 20th.